Today's podcast has been sponsored by Apricity. If you're trying to conceive, imagine a world where fertility care is free of stigma, full of support and tailored just for you. With Apricity Fertility, that world is closer than you think. Apricity's virtual fertility clinic makes care accessible and personal. From at-home diagnostic testing to virtual consultations and expert treatment like IVF and egg freezing, they're redefining fertility care. Plus, their success rates surpass the UK national average, giving you even more hope on your journey. With the Apricity app and your own personal advisor, you're supported every step of the way, 7 days a week. Apricity understands that building a family shouldn't mean putting your life on hold. Visit www.apricityfertility.com today. Apricity, fertility care for the modern woman. Good morning or afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this. I'm Stef, one of the founders at Femme Health, and thanks for joining Outspoken for our third ever podcast. I'm joined today by Laura, one of our founders, and a very exciting guest today. We have the incredible Tone from the Fertility Foundation. Huge thank you for joining us today. We are so excited to get into the nitty and gritty on why you started this charity. So huge welcome, Tone.
Thank you. Welcome. Hello, everybody.
Really excited that you're here because I know that we've obviously been speaking on and off for 8 months while we've been developing Femme Health. But just to be able to hear the story again from start to finish just really excites me. And this is exactly why we wanted to have the foundation as our charity partner, because I just think you've done it in such a unique way. So please tell us a little bit more about your journey and how you've got here. And
yeah, so obviously I run the Fertility Foundation. We're a UK charity that helps people with access to IVF funding through our grants. And the background is I run the charity with my husband, PJ, and we're a small family. Sometimes we call it boutique style charity. You know, his mum comes into the shops and does steaming and sorting clothes. His dad helps with building. His sister does our window design. So we're kind of a real little niche family. But where we started was, over a decade ago, we launched a fertility magazine called Fertility Road. And it was a consumer publication where we had doctors and specialists come in and write stories. And it was to help people then that where there was no real information online, it was all sort of in dark corners, really. And through that, we fell in love with the IVF world. We had no idea about it at all before. And it was a real eye opener to see what people go through on a daily basis just to have a child, the bare basics that you should be able to do without anything. And then we launched this free IVF program, a global IVF program called Fertility Journey. So we were the first people in the world. I like to brag about it because we were. And well, we did, and there was no one out there, but no one was doing it. There was clinics giving discounts or trying to lure you in, but we were like, how can we help people that can't afford treatment? Or what was more actually interesting was people that had quite a few cycles or had more of a complex underlying issue that needed specialist attention, and we had no idea if this would work. And we just went out and we pitched it out to some of our partners we worked with. And we had 6 clinics and experts come on board in the first year. And we ran that, I think, for 5 years until we sold Fertility Road. It was massively successful, like over 30 babies bought. I think it was 32 we had through the whole process. And it's really funny, our eldest little boy from that first journey, he's 8 next month. And we got married on his birthday.
Do you feel like a part of their lives? Like, do you still stay in touch with these children?
Yeah, definitely. So he, we get Christmas cards, and I sometimes get a birthday card. It's mainly Christmas, and we can't forget his birthday because we got married on his first birthday unintentionally. That's how the universe works. but yeah, we still hear from some of them, and we're friends with some of them on Facebook, so we just watch them from afar, and it's quite a magical moment, really. And then because the Fertility Road was a commercial enterprise, we were always beholden to an advertiser. So we were like, what can we do that allows us the freedom to help people how we want to do it? And that's when we came up with the idea to start the Fertility Foundation. And we had no charity experience, no idea. We were like, yeah, running a charity is nice and easy. And yeah, we found out it's a bit more difficult. But yeah, we just jumped into it. And I think what the thing about running, running the charity has allowed us, the freedom to have more control with what we do. On the other side, it's harder because you're out trying to get donations all the time and finding donors and partners and stuff. So it's they sort of ups and downs of both of them.
So why fertility then? Did you start into this because of your own personal route to parenthood, or?
No, so this is it's really funny. First of all, there's two men running a female-led business or female-led business in a female-led world. It's kind of crazy. It was absolutely purely by accident. I just met PJ. I think I met him in August 2010. It was bank holiday. And then 6 months later, we'd been together. His background is HR and running businesses and property. Mine was IT and social media. And it was literally two friends of ours asked us for some investment into the magazine. And we were like, yeah, go on. We don't know what we're doing. It's a laugh.
Yeah.
And it was only when you share things on Facebook, and a couple of friends said, "What's that you're sharing? What's this magazine?" And I said, "Oh, this is what we do." And they said, "Oh, well, we had IVF," and they whispered it. We had IVF,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, did you? Didn't know that?" And they said, "No, nobody knows." And it wasn't until like a couple of years in, just sitting behind the scenes watching like the communications coming in and the post and the social media content, I was like, this is quite an interesting world, really, that I never knew about. And then when we started doing the trade shows like Fertility Show or in Canada and in America, that we got to meet people that, for me, we were talking about our colors yesterday. If you're working in an organization, they give you your colors, like you're blue, red, orange, green. I'm a blue, and PJ is a red. PJ's analytical,
Yeah.
and I'm all about, so how does that make you feel? How can I help? How can I be involved? And when it's different from when you're behind the keyboard and you message someone, but when you meet someone face to face and you look them in the eyes and they tell you their story, it makes you actually, I think, reflect on your own life, really, because you think, well, some people get it really easy, and some people don't. Some people, I just had an email in this. Someone's had 10 fresh transfers, no, 5 fresh transfers and 5 frozen transfers in the last 5 years.
No.
And for me, I'm like, for me, this is what goes through my brain. Has your doctors not actually pulled you aside and had a proper conversation of like, what is actually wrong? There must be some kind of underlying health issue that is stopping you from achieving a pregnancy.
Yeah.
But instead, it's like, just chuck more money at it, more money at it. So
it's become an industry, hasn't it? It really has. And I suppose that's why we need charities like you, because I think this leads us on to one of FEM's values about equitable access and this postcode lottery that we seem to have in the UK. And it's charities like yourselves that need to fill in that gap, which is so crazy because, like you said before, we're talking about a basic right to have a child. So have you seen the grants increase over the last 5 years you've been running the charity? Do you think we're getting into a situation where this postcode lottery is getting worse in the UK?
Yeah, definitely. So when we first gave out grants, I think 3 years ago, when we first started officially giving out grants. And our first year we had it was around 380 people apply. Year 2, we were at 700 plus. Last year, we had 1,800 people apply. So you can see it really, really, really spiking. And what's quite interesting is that when we first started out, we never really had any single women or same-sex female or male couples. And in the last 2 years, well, certainly this year, I mean, it's triple the amount of people that, like single women that haven't met the right person or want to go it alone, they've applied. But I think what I've seen more is that there's less and less access for not just heterosexual couples, but especially if you're a single woman or if you're a same-sex female couple, having to go through 10 IUI failed IVF cycles, I would, to say, before that you'll get any treatment on the NHS, which I find crackers.
But that's changed in Wales now, hasn't it? We were speaking to Tracy, our fertility expert, last week, and she was saying that in Wales, same-sex couples can have access, the 3 rounds, depending on the area, but we still seem to be behind everywhere else.
Definitely, yeah.
It's madness. Is that purely like a funding issue, do you think? Is that to do with, because it's regional, isn't it, in the NHS? So they allow each region to make a decision on how many cycles and I guess who they fund. Is it just a lack of money in the system, do you think?
So funding has been going down over the last few years. We've seen it. But what used to happen, central government used to give CCGs, but I think they've got a new name now. They used to give them money and say, this has to go to this has to go to this, a percentage goes to this. And now they just give them money and say, spend it as you wish. And, then it comes down to, what's more important is treating cancer more important than treating IVF is, if you've got a brain tumor, if you've got, I think there's more people needing access to treatment and not as much money out there. So there isn't as much funding. But this has been going on for years and years now.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting it's not ring fenced because other things are ring fenced. You have to deliver a certain amount of care. And I think if they were to do that and make it standardised, I think that would take a lot of the anger out of people because I don't think it's necessarily how many cycles. It's the fact that it's maybe 1 cycle here, but if you move 10 minutes down the road, it's 2 cycles there. And I think it's more about standardising it, which is really what Femme wants to say sort of at that national level, is that it's not really how many, it's that making sure that everyone has that same amount of cycles to choose from.
Yeah, we were speaking to women over the last few weeks that actually moved house to get cycled, moved into different villages and towns.
It's insane. It just shouldn't be like that. It should be standardised. I don't see why it would be difficult, but as you said, it's very challenging for the regional health providers because there are so many issues to deal with and there's just not enough money. So, it's very difficult to say, well, as you said, don't fund that cancer service. So it's kind of how do you get the balance of that?
Do you know what? It's actually interesting when you put together like what we're going to talk about. One of the things I actually put on there was it's actually reverse of what you said, where people have moved into an area so that they can get access. I've had people that were given funding where they were. They moved. And then when they moved, they found out the new place they moved to, they weren't getting covered for treatment. So they're like, and then they're stuck. There's no going backsies. Yeah. You can't do anything. And I think what's actually
would they pay the shortfall in that scenario?
No, they'll have to just pay. They just won't get any funding.
To start again. And have you seen then, since you've been in, the fertility sector, have you seen the prices soar? Because I feel like AMH tests have once gone from like 100 odd quid to some parts of London nearly 500.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's not just, there was a few years ago when fertility add-ons were the thing, and you'd go into a clinic and they would get okay, we're going to do IVF or we're going to do IVF with ICSI, and then they're saying, oh, we can do embryo glue and we can do endometrial scratching. We can do all these different things. And then I think the BBC did an undercover documentary and blew it all up. And then they couldn't do that. So they're now finding, sadly, there's new ways to try and get money out of people. And I understand. This is where I sit, right? I understand, and it's the same with me. I run a charity in the same way that Femme Health you run your business. And this is why we moved out of the commercial sector. But I feel like I wear two heads. I wear one, which is I'm here to help people achieve a dream of having a child. Or, which I always like to say to people, I want to get you from A to Z. And Z might be that your life doesn't include having a child. It may not be in the cards for you, but I want to help you move on from that. And then my other head is I'm a business. I have to make money to be able to do the work that I do. And I think clinics, there are good clinics and there are bad clinics and there are clinics in the middle. And I think some clinics really do care and try their hardest and really do want to help. And I know clinics that have bent over backwards and done special things for people that are desperate or low income people. But and then there's clinics on the other spectrum. We had a grant application come in and they needed 15 grand for a cycle. And I looked up the clinic. I'm not saying who it is, and it's notorious. And I didn't even have to look at the name before I knew who it was. And it was 15 grand for a cycle. And I went back to the couple and I said, for 15 grand, I can get you 3 cycles. Probably 4. And they're like, oh, well, the clinic said that's how much it is. I'm like,
and they're just,
I can't.
And they're in desperation at that point. We've had personal experiences in the team ourselves, and by the time you get there, it's just sort of okay. How do we move on?
Do you think there's also a piece though around like earlier intervention? And I think one of the things like we're really trying to talk a bit about and Femme is about preconception and pre-fertility, and just maybe not assuming that getting pregnant is always going to be really easy, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have IVF. And there are changes you can make to your lifestyle, sort of your nutrition, to those kind of things that will actually help you. And to have some of those conversations like you're saying, that if the feasibility is really low that you're going to have a baby, like someone needs to have that conversation, I feel, and say, look, you are going to put yourself through this process. Not easy for you to go through. It's really traumatic for a lot of women. And the likelihood is very, very low that you'll have a baby. Do we need to be better at having those conversations as well?
Oh, definitely. So we had one of our writers when we had the magazine. She did 6 rounds of IVF. And she managed to, through Fresh and Frozen, get them all covered on the NHS. So when she got to the end of that and it didn't work, the NHS said to her clinic, when she was referred back to her GP, and they're like, well, maybe we should do some exploratory investigations to see actually why you're not getting pregnant.
Oh, no.
And now she went off to a clinic in Greece, who we know very well, went over there to have IVF. The first thing they did was like, let's do, proper screening. She did a proper exam. She looked at it and she went, you've got an undiagnosed STI.
Oh my God.
And it's not, and you've had it, I can think you've had it for years. We need to treat this first before we even do IVF. So they did that. She had her IVF because she was booked in. And then she said to the doctor, I'm going to come back for my next child with you. She said, you won't need me again. She got pregnant.
Oh my God, the frustration of all those rounds.
Yeah, I've always said there are a lot of people that don't actually need to go through IVF.
Yeah.
There is definite lifestyle changes. There is definitely people need to eat better, exercise, drink more water. And the thing that I've always focused on with couples, I always take them on a little journey. I always say to people, the most interesting conversation I have with people at fertility shows is one person stood at our stand once and said, oh, we've been trying to get pregnant, but it's not been working. And I said, how long have you been trying? They said, 3 years. I said, okay. And I said, what have you tried? She goes, well, I've not had sex with my husband in 6 months. And I'm like, listen, even I know the basics of how it works, right? And the amount this is, if you've never been through a struggle like IVF, like going through fertility, or you can't get pregnant and you can get pregnant and then you miscarry, and this is repeated. What it does is that women are the driver in this whole shebang, this whole fertility journey. But what happens is it becomes less about having intimacy and sex with your partner. It's all about baby making. And I always say men are like dogs. I'm a gay man. I can attribute it's the same for gay men. We are like dogs. If it's offered, it's like the thrill is in the chase.
Yeah.
Now, once you're told you need to be home at 5 o'clock, and then you need to have sex with me at 5:05 for 2 seconds so you can ejaculate and then leave so I can stick my legs in the air, then men are like, you know what? What's that about?
It's not fun, is it?
What I will say, which is we found really, really interesting, we've been obviously trading for 5 weeks, is that we are selling quite a lot of insemination kits. And when we spoken, because we're trying to speak to the first few hundred customers so we can really understand their shopping habits, we're like, why an insemination kit? And they're like, I don't want to lose the intimacy during trying to conceive. So when I'm ovulating, I'm just doing it separately because I want to protect the intimacy. And I thought that's really interesting because so many people are losing the fun, and now people are protecting it by using these kits that we've got. And I actually thought that was really, really good idea.
Yeah, it's a really good idea.
I get it. I do get that, but it goes back to my point, which is the reason why you got together as a couple wasn't just to procreate.
Yes, very important.
It was, you meet someone at dinner, it's a blind date, Tinder date, whatever it is. You walk down the street, you meet someone, and it's like, ooh, I just want to go and do the dirty, right? And then you date, you go to dinner, you go to the cinema, you go on holidays, you have fun, you have sex all the time, and it's spontaneous. And if you look back, back to how there's some data we looked at from a long time ago, is that part of the spontaneous animalistic part of having sex is that it's how both of your bodies react. And if it becomes that you just turn into, I'm doing it for baby making, I just think you're losing way, because all you care about really is having a child. You stop caring about yourself and your partner.
I think what they were saying was that they would just use that around their ovulation, and at the rest of the time that they would then have sex as fun and when you wanted it. And I can sort of see that's kind of trying to get the balance, I guess, of what you're saying, is keeping sex the rest of the time just spontaneous and just when you want to have it. And then just that period around ovulation is when you're using the kit, and so it's not forced. So
you're not right now and now go away, I'm lying here. And I thought that was really interesting. Anyway, we could talk about, I didn't think the podcast would be all about sex.
Yeah.
And as Tracy would say, we should be having it every day because there are so many health benefits. I was like, okay, Tracy.
Yeah, please don't tell my other half that.
Please hope my other half is not listening.
But even just 1 second, but even just going back to that, it's a miracle that women get pregnant anyway, because there's a small finite window,
tiny,
for you to get pregnant. It's minuscule. It's amazing that a female's body can do this. So it's about just trying to have more regular, unprotected, intimate intercourse that isn't as planned. But I totally get, some people, if they're busy working and a friend of ours is a lorry driver, so he's away a lot. So that kind of situation would actually work really well for them.
Yeah, I think, there is a balance, of enjoying your life, but, when you are, what we will say is when you are in the depths of IVF, it is not always that easy. So I do just want to make that point.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you.
What I would love for you to explain a little bit more, Tony, is about the actual application process and about the grants, how they work. I did see, and huge congratulations, the foundation mentioned on Steph's packed lunch before Christmas with the little baby. That was incredible.
Yeah.
So how does it work for the listeners?
So we open our grants in July each year, and that really depends on how much money we've raised previous year. So we just sort of build up a pot of money. So we open them up in July. It's an application that's done via our website, and we go into quite a lot of detail. We ask a lot of questions. We like to see medical history, any tests they've had, what treatment they've had, what outcomes there's been, and we do that for men and women. So they're both looked at. That stays open for 3 months, and what we used to do is we used to wait to the end of 3 months and then look at all of our applicants at once. But now because we get so many, we have to just go along as we get them. So we do them in chunks, and then we have a doctor or different doctors that we use that we know that they come and look at them, and they're like, yes, no, yeah. If they came in front of me in a clinic, I'd be like, they need more testing, or if that's not going to work, they've been doing the wrong thing, type of thing. So it's difficult because you're trying to figure out who's the best candidate that you think you can help, really. So we close them. So July, August, September, and then during October, we create our short list of couples and individuals, and then I don't want to give away a secret because they gave it away on Steph's packed lunch, actually. We basically, the ones that we're really interested in, we do a video interview. Yeah. We call it an interview. It's just us having a chit chat, really, like we are now. Because part of it is that we like to meet the people that we are hopefully going to help, and find a bond really with them, because it's more than sometimes just
here's the money,
how they look on paper. And it's, we had a couple that are actually, we've got 2 couples this month that are just going through their treatment, and one of them was a real tough one for us to choose. The 2 cycles that they'd only ever had 1 egg, and that was it. And then we actually chose them medically. They came back sound, and we met them online. And then when they decided to come back, so we offered them the full amount, which was £3,000, and they came back and said, I'm actually, since in the last 6 months, everything has changed for me. We actually had applied to do egg sharing, and we've been accepted by the clinic. So we don't need 3,000. We only need, I think it was 1,200 or 1,300. And they've just had their cycle, their collection. They had 30 eggs they produced. Oh. And so 15 have gone off to be shared to help other people. Oh, that's incredible. And that's what I love about it. So they're the kind of things. So then once we do that, that's October done. And then early November, we give people either the good news or the bad news, unfortunately. So it's a bit of it's like a 6-month process for us, but there's a lot that goes into picking people, really.
The selection process.
There's a lot of people that apply. Do you ever give them any feedback as to why you haven't chosen them, or any direction signposting?
We can't, because there's just so many. I could spend weeks responding back. Now, if someone, I get emails every day, questions about treatment and IVF and stuff, and I'll always respond. I talk to people on their phone if people ring me up. I don't have a support model in my charity, but I'll always help people. But I just when you've got 1,700 people apply.
Growing so rapidly, and then to give them a personalised.
Yeah.
How do people donate? So tell us a little bit about how people can help to support the grants.
So they can go to our website, fertilityfoundation.org/donate. You can donate online. People do things like, we've got a guy doing a triathlon in March. People do marathons, walks, anything like that. Anything where you can raise money works really well. Partnerships like yourself are absolutely vital to us, because it really does help us. And we've got a couple of new partners that are joining us as well, and they're bringing on some skills that are really going to help us. But or there's also their time. If people have got some skills that, or time that they can spend, whether that's volunteering in our shops, helping us doing our Vinted or eBay.
And charity
then we've got some
shops as well, Tone. So you are the only UK charity shop for fertility, is that right?
First in the country.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Just about your second as well.
We are. So we opened our first one. It was really interesting. We got our contract the day we went into the very first lockdown of COVID in 2020. So we were ready to go, and then it all stopped. But yeah, so we live in Hertfordshire, and our closest town, which is 5 minutes away, is Hoddesdon. We opened it there. We had no idea how to run a charity shop. But I tell you one thing, we are thrifty as hell. We borrowed, we begged, we found pallets, we built walls from them. We just made it as funky as we could. And we were like, are people going to donate clothes and stuff to us? And are people going to come into a fertility charity shop and spend money? And they do. They come in their droves, and it's really interesting when you get people coming in going, it's so nice to have a shop like yours on the high street, because I went through IVF.
Yeah.
Or you've got the grandparents in, and they're like, oh, meet my little IVF bundle. Or people just want to come in and talk. It's actually really nice to sort of meet people again face to face. It's really lovely.
You really are truly inspiring, and we are so excited to work with you going forward. So obviously we have pledged to give 30% of all marketing income direct to the charity. So any clinics that want to advertise with us, or any independent people that are part of the fertility community, 30% will go direct to the charity. And I know we've got some exciting ideas to work together for some campaigns this year, and we're really excited. And we just want to say thank you as well for all your support. Yes. And keep doing what you're doing, because you are literally changing lives. I think the first baby, if I'm right, Sonny, was born in 2022.
Yes.
How exciting.
And his mum and dad together, but his mum she was our first volunteer in our shop, because she lives not far from us, and she just came in and volunteered. She's a nanny, and then we got to know her a bit, and she stayed with us right up for 2 years. And then I knew that they'd had a second round which hadn't worked, and we hadn't done grants yet. And then she was just talking to me, and she said, oh, we're gonna try for our third, and we're kind of struggling, and with money and stuff, and but we're saving, and we're gonna do it. And I turned around to PJ and said, I want to help this couple. They've donated all their time to us. I just want to help them. And it was third go, and it was a scary one, because initially they were pregnant with twins, and one didn't make it, unfortunately, and she had a rough pregnancy like a lot of women do. But then this little Sonny came along. He's so beautiful. We are actually going on holiday with them next month for a week.
God, I've got goosebumps. It's amazing. Incredible.
Yeah,
incredible
it's
work.
amazing.
Huge congratulations, and thank you so much for joining us today. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you, what is the best way? Through your website?
Yeah, so fertilityfoundation.org, or you can catch us on all the socials. So Instagram and Facebook is where we hang out mostly. So yes, hit us up.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Tone. Appreciate your time. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.